Hello, so in this video I want to turn Jason Todd, the Red Hood, who for many, including myself, was an underwhelming twist, into the best aspect of Arkham Knight, specifically related to the Paul Dini version I came up with. This will expand on the Red Hood storyline I briefly covered in my Paul Dini rewrite. I've included timestamps for your convenience, in case there's a specific part you'd like to, immediately jump to. I wish I had more time to express how much I appreciate the insightful comments from all of you. I just have enough time to tell you how thankful I am to you for giving me a chance, how much you guys make my day each time I'm reading through your comments, and how much we need to get this video started. So let's get right to it. I conducted extensive research for this video. As Paul Dini is my favorite Batman writer, I wanted to delve deeper into my rewrite for Jason Todd after the feedback. I realized that Jason Todd was not introduced in throughout the animated series, which may have made my initial portrayal of him feel underdeveloped. So I went back to the drawing board to give Jason the justice he deserves. I was surprised to discover that Paul Dini has actually written about Jason Todd in the comic series Batman: The Adventures Continue, which Dini co-wrote with Alan Burnett. This series is set in the same universe as Batman the Animated Series, and provides a fresh take on Jason Todd's character, integrating him into the DC animated universe while staying true to his comic book roots. For any of you who might be unfamiliar with the storyline, what basically happens is Red Hood comes back in a semi-different take, and just plainly messes with the Bat family, which goes in quite well with the vision a few of you had for your ideal scenarios. They were quite an interesting read, and should you want me to cover them for you in a future video, let me know down in the comments, but for now, I want to start off with my own personal take, because that's actually what you're here for. Just to refresh your memory, throughout my version of the story, Batman is physically weakened and mentally fractured, caught between the war for Gotham and the battle in his own mind. Jason Todd is a vengeful shadow, weaving his psychological torment into Batman's war with Scarecrow and Hush, targeting not only Bruce, but his entire family. Hush is the ultimate manipulator, taking control of Bruce Wayne's identity and legacy, while Scarecrow serves as the looming force of terror, escalating the chaos across the city. The Bat family represents the collateral damage, each of them forced to face Jason's wrath in personal and devastating ways. The central conflict is both physical and psychological. Batman is fighting to stop the villains destroying Gotham, but Jason is forcing him to confront his greatest failure, the loss and betrayal of his own son. Jason believes Batman's code is a weakness and wants to prove that Bruce is just as broken as he is. The conflict extends beyond them, affecting the entire Bat family, who are used as pawns in Jason's revenge. I felt that this would be a better take rather than keeping Jason's identity a mystery throughout the story. Jason's personal war will culminate with his betrayal of Hush, with whom he was working with before. Him and Scarecrow. He lures Batman to Wayne Tower, exposing Hush's crimes and forcing a final confrontation. This will actually be the opening scene of the game, as I feel it would do a better job of establishing Jason Todd to the story. This version won't drag out the Red Hood mystery, but will rather focus on the emotional weight of the story. I'm not voice acting, rather I'll be narrating. Like a story, so, our one-man studio's budget couldn't allow me to hire all the voice actors. It will at least be fun to see. This part will play out as a cutscene. The screen is black. A grainy video feed flickers to life. A shaky camera captures a dimly lit room. The lens struggles to focus through the static, revealing a young man slumped in a metal chair. Jason Todd. His breathing is ragged, one eye swollen shut. Blood drips from his lips, mixing with the sweat on his chin. The camera pulls back, revealing the monster behind it, the Joker. Jason barely moves. His fingers twitch as if trying to curl into a fist. Oh, what's the matter, Jaybird? Not feeling chatty today? Joker lifts the crowbar into frame, twirling it like a conductor's baton. Jason spits blood onto the floor. Joker's grin widens. But hey, at least we got each other, right? A real dynamic duo. The crowbar comes down. Crack! Jason jerks in the chair, gritting his teeth to stifle the scream. The camera shakes as Joker swings again. Crack! 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 Jason coughs, his voice barely above a whisper. Batman! He's coming for me. Joker steps closer, crouching so they're eye level. His yellowed teeth glisten under the dim light. Oh, sweetheart, you really think he's coming? You really think after all this time, after all this silence, he's still out there looking? Jason's breathing grows uneven. Joker strokes his chin in mock thought. It's funny. I always wondered what would break the Bat, losing another little birdie or knowing that when he finally finds you, you won't want to go home. Jason's battered eyes widen just a fraction, just enough for Joker to notice. The clown cackles, placing the crowbar under Jason's chin, lifting his head up. Oh, now there's the real punchline. What if he does find you, huh? What if he's out there right now, digging through the dirt, turning Gotham upside down, only to see what I see? A little lost bird with nowhere left to fly. Jason's lips tremble. His body is failing him, but his mind clings to something. He's coming, Jason breathes. Joker sighs dramatically, tossing the crowbar over his shoulder. You know what, kid? I'd love to stay and chat, but I've got one last magic trick to pull off. He lifts a pistol, presses the barrel against Jason's temple. Jason closes his eyes. The screen cuts to black. We hear the sound of the pistol going off. Just as the scene transitions to present day, right after the events of Arkham City, it was a recording, Bruce Wayne watching the last video he ever saw of Jason, tortured, battered, defeated. A little light flickers from the enormous computer screens inside the Batcave. With his fingers balled into fists by his sides, Bruce Wayne stands in the shadows. The shaky video of Jason Todd's last moments keeps playing. Joker's laughter continues to reverberate off the chilly stone walls and through the speakers. Alfred's voice is softer than usual, laced with concern. He steps closer, but Bruce doesn't turn. I should have found him, Bruce says, his voice almost lost in the hum of the cave. I should have saved him. Alfred's eyes flicker to the screen, to Jason's bloodied face frozen in time. You did everything you could, Master Wayne, he says solemnly. Bruce reminisces on his past failures, Jason, Talia, Barbara, who's currently operating as Oracle. He exhales sharply, shaking his head. He doesn't believe that. He can't believe that. Bruce gets an alert on the Bat computer, a news report. The ongoing chaos of Scarecrow's threats to flood the city with fear toxin. And from this point on, I'm sure you know the drill. That was the opening in this version of Batman Arkham Knight. Just a reminder, I'm only covering the parts relevant to Jason Todd in this story. So, let's move on to the next part. The first encounter. This will be amidst Batman's skull fracture and Joker hallucinations. This will take place during the alliance between Hush and Scarecrow, after Batman's bat rope is sniped by Hush and he falls to the dark alley, then doused with fear toxin. Shortly after those events, this is a game after all, so while you, the player, are free roaming, you'll get a cutscene where Gotham's rooftops stretch endlessly into the night, the neon lights painting the city in a toxic glow. Batman moves swiftly, his cape whipping behind him as he lands on the ledge of a building overlooking the carnage below. Picture Crime Alley. Bodies scattered across the pavement, thugs, burned, broken, their weapons still clutched in lifeless hands. A figure stands among them, his outfit almost similar to Batman, almost like he's mocking him. It's the Arkham Knight, in the dim glow of a street lamp. Batman's voice cuts through the downpour. Why did you do this? He mutters in a low voice, barely controlling his anger. The figure tilts his head. A little late for that, Bats. Batman moves closer. Why? He mutters again. The Arkham Knight takes a step forward out of the shadows. His voice is calm, measured, but beneath it, there is something broken. You already know. In a way, Batman, this was the site of your first great failure. Maybe your greatest. But while the Arkham Knight says that, Bruce can't help but think back to Jason. Jason Todd's death might be the greatest tragedy in Batman's life up to this point, because it's something Bruce could have controlled. He didn't have to make Jason Robin, but he did. He thrust Jason into that position. Jason, a boy that trusted him. And ultimately, it got him killed. After Dick Grayson moved on from being Robin into his own hero, Batman was left without a sidekick. Jason Todd during that time was being raised in the slums of Gotham City, the worst areas, where Jason was forced to be tough and violent in order to survive. His parents didn't help either. According to his character bio in Arkham Knight, his dad was a petty criminal who got himself imprisoned. It's not specified in the games, but his father's name in the comics is Willis Todd, who was, like the game said, a low-level crook who got imprisoned. In the comics, Jason believed his father was killed during his time in prison, as that's what he was told. That's never specified in the games, but I thought I'd bring it up. His mother, mentioned here, died due to substance abuse. This also lines up with her comic book counterpart. In the comics, her name was Catherine, who fell into a state of depression and substance abuse, which resulted in her death. Jason, still a kid mind you, had to live on the streets of Gotham and find ways to survive and fend for himself. In order to get money for himself, he started stealing car parts. This is what led to him finding Batman, as he tried stealing the tires off of the Batmobile in an alleyway, until Batman found him. The same crime alley he's facing the Arkham Knight right now. Batman took him in and trained him to replace Dick Grayson as Robin. Batman learned that the streets made Jason tough and very fiercely driven, but because of that, and with no real prior positive life experiences, he lacked that cheerful enthusiasm that Grayson had. During Jason's time as Robin, he was growing more and more frustrated at Batman's no-killing code, particularly with the Joker. Bruce's unwillingness to kill the Joker, in spite of everyone he's killed and all the lives and destruction he's caused, frustrated Jason, to say the least, And then, however, Joker committed one crime that pushed Jason to the edge. Joker went to a kindergarten and murdered a bunch of children. The Miller's story from Arkham Knight called The Fall tells us about this, and how Jason saw a grief-stricken mother trying to piece her son together. Joker killed the entire class and mismatched their body parts together, so the parents had to go through and find all the pieces of their child. Joker mocked the kids too, singing a tune with the lyrics being, "Little arms, little legs, little heads," crudely, mockingly stitched together. Once Joker was taken to Arkham Asylum after this crime, Jason decided to head there, unknown to Batman, and kill the Joker, crossing the line for Batman. Batman doesn't know how the rest played out, only what he saw in that video in the beginning, where Joker kills Jason. But a flashback shows us the player how it played out. This was in the comic, but I now want you to imagine it as an in-game moment. Jason turned off his tracker and cut his communications, making himself a ghost, with Batman not being able to find him until he'd killed the Joker. When he got to Arkham, Jason was thinking to himself about how the sanatorium had been derelict for years. Perfect place to kill the Joker. When he got there, however, Jason pulled back heavy iron doors that led into a laundry chute, but instead found himself in a trap. He fell into the dark until a net halfway down caught him. It snapped under his weight, sending him tumbling out at the end of the chute onto the granite floor. He heard a tune. The Joker, sadistic as usual, was singing merrily. While trying to collect himself, he was immediately attacked by a crowbar, by the Joker. The first swing took out the 2 of his teeth. The second one broke his ankle. Joker then sang another tune. Jason was now being kept by the Joker, and as we all know, he was getting tortured in cruel and heinous ways. As we transition back from Bruce's thoughts, we realize that this isn't Bruce witnessing the murder of his parents, something that he couldn't have stopped as he was, 8 at the time? This is Bruce dealing with the repercussions of the mistakes of the past. It is Batman's greatest failure. It's the worst loss he's ever had since the death of his parents. Someone that he was supposed to be protecting, someone that he was supposed to be taking care of, that he was not only a mentor to, but also a parent, kind of, too. And he fails. "You should have come for me," Arkham Knight whispers. "You should have found me. But you didn't. Yet you had the nerve to say to him, 'Even after everything you've done, I should have saved you.' What the hell, Bruce?" Batman's breath hitches. The Arkham Knight knows his identity. A batarang flies. Arkham Knight catches it midair and crushes it in his grip. "You let me rot in that hellhole. And now you're going to see what happens when you leave family behind." A flashbang detonates. White-hot light engulfs the alley. When Batman regains his sight, the Arkham Knight is gone. Only his voice lingers. "You let me die, Bruce. And now I'm gonna show you what that feels like." That would mark the first encounter, after which you, the player, get to go back to analyze the evidence, through which Bruce realizes that was Jason back from the dead. The second encounter will take place a bit further into the events of the game. Jason's psychological warfare begins. So after Batman is even more mentally weakened by the Joker hallucinations, and the continuous onslaught of both Scarecrow and Hush, Jason targets Barbara, Nightwing, and Tim. We get a cutscene. The hunt begins. The city is unraveling. Scarecrow's fear toxin has spread, infecting the streets. Criminals prowl the ruins, scavenging what little control they can seize in the power vacuum. Batman has been pushing through the chaos, but his body, his mind, are breaking. The fear toxin has taken root in his subconscious, and now Joker won't shut up. "Oh, Batsy, you're looking rough. Really should see a doctor about that nasty little concussion." Joker's voice rings in his ears, even when Batman tries to drown it out with the sound of the city. The Batmobile screeches to a halt on the rooftop of Gotham's clock tower. Batman stumbles out, gripping the railing for balance. Below, Oracle's monitors flicker erratically. Barbara Gordon turns in her chair, eyes widening when she sees him. "Bruce, what the hell happened to you?" He doesn't answer immediately. His breath is uneven. The pounding in his skull is deafening. Barbara frowns, wheeling closer. "You look like you just fell off a damn building." Batman cuts her off. There's something worse happening. He pulls up the footage from his cowl. The Arkham Knight. The earlier encounter. The way he moves. How he caught the batarang. The way he talks. Barbara watches, her brows knitting together. "Who the hell is this guy?" Batman's fists clench. "Jason!" The room falls into silence. Bruce's mind flashes back to the past, and we see Batman and Jason Todd's Robin, how naive he was when he was younger, and how fun it was back in the day. Taking down the Riddler, for example. In a comedic, almost Adam Westy vibe. Contrasting what is happening now in the present, Barbara exhales sharply. "Jason Todd is dead, Bruce. We both saw with the Joker. It's him." Batman's voice is strained but firm, and he's coming for all of us. A new alert flashes across Oracle's monitors. Static crackles through the speakers. The screens flicker. Video feeds of the Batcave, Wayne Manor, the GCPD evidence room. Then the images distort. A new face appears. The Arkham Knight. I hope you're watching, Babs. I've been meaning to catch up. Barbara freezes. What the hell? The footage changes. Old security logs. Images of Barbara before the wheelchair. Before the Joker took her spine. Jason has access to files he shouldn't. He's been watching. You know, Jason's voice drips with venom. I remember when I first met you. You were all wide-eyed, so eager to impress. Barbara's hands grip the arms of her wheelchair. Turn it off! But here's the funny thing, Babs. The video glitches. The footage changes. The screen flickers, and suddenly, the scene from The Killing Joke is playing out before her. The Joker. The doorway. The gunshot. Barbara gasps, her eyes going wide as the horror replays in front of her. Jason chuckles darkly through the speakers. We both learned the hard way, didn't we? That Batman doesn't save people. He just watches them break. The screen goes black. Barbara is shaking. Joker's laughter erupts in Batman's head. Oh, this kid's good. I mean, wow. Someone give him a damn award for psychological trauma, because that was brutal. Batman clenches his jaw. His mind is splitting between the Joker hallucination and the horror in front of him. Barbara turns in her chair, her eyes blazing. You need to stop him! Batman grips the console. That will mark the second encounter. The third one will play out in the church will be a cutscene. You won't be playing as Batman in this scene, rather an observer. Nightwing is bleeding. The docks of Gotham are littered with broken bodies, mercenaries, their guns still smoking. The air smells like gunpowder and rain. Dick Grayson struggles to push himself up from the pavement, but his ribs scream in protest. Blood drips from his nose onto the concrete. A slow, measured clap echoes from the rooftops above. You know, for someone who used to be the best, you're getting really sloppy, Dick. The Arkham Knight steps forward, his boots crunching against the shattered glass. The visor glows in the darkness. Nightwing breathes through the pane, looking up at him. Jason? Jason tilts his head. Aw, you recognize me. That's sweet. Jason crouches down, balancing on the railing above. I just wanted to say hello first. He tosses something onto the ground beside Nightwing. A Robin mask. Nightwing's stomach tightens. What did you do? Jason leans in closer, his voice a whisper. I made sure the new kid got my old welcoming party. Nightwing's heart stops. Tim. Jason tilts his head. I wonder how long he'll last. Want to take bets? The scene cuts to a section where you now see Tim Drake. Blood smears against the walls of the abandoned church. The pews are overturned, the candles snuffed out long ago. Tim Drake dangles from his wrists, his arms tied to the rafters above. His lip is split, blood trailing down his chin. A voice cuts through the silence. It's weird, you know? I always thought being Robin meant something. Tim barely managed to lift his head. Through the dim light, he sees Jason Todd standing in the center of the church, twirling a knife between his fingers. But after everything, I realized, nah, we're just cannon fodder. Tim breathes through the pain. You're wrong. Jason chuckles. Am I? He steps forward, tapping the knife against Tim's chest. You still believe in him, don't you? You still think he's gonna save you? Tim glares at him. He will. Jason studies him for a long moment. Then he plunges the knife into Tim's side. Tim gasps, his body seizing against the pain. Jason leans in, his voice low. Guess we'll see. Rain batters the stained glass windows of the abandoned church. Lightning flashes through the sky, illuminating the scene in harsh, flickering bursts. Tim Drake dangles from the rafters, his body battered, a deep gash still bleeding from his side. His breathing is shallow, but he refuses to show weakness. Jason Todd paces beneath him, his helmet catching the dim candlelight. He twirls a knife between his fingers, slow, methodical. You know, kid, I really thought you'd put up more of a fight, Jason muses, his voice low and sharp. Tim glares down at him. Go to hell. Jason chuckles. Been there. Not a fan of the decor. He steps closer, gripping Tim by the chin, forcing him to look into the red glow of his visor. What do you think he'll do when he finds you? You think he'll care? Jason tilts his head. You're just the new Robin, a replacement, a stand-in. Tim doesn't blink. If that's true, why are you so scared of me? Jason's grip tightens. Before he can respond, the church doors explode inward. A black shape moves through the rain. Jason lets go of Tim, turning slowly. Right on cue. Batman steps forward, his boots slamming against the old wooden floorboards. His skull pounds from the fracture, Joker's voice laughing in his head. Oh, Bats, this is delicious. Your old sidekick beating the hell out of the new one? We should be selling tickets. Batman ignores the hallucination. His focus is on Jason. Let him go. Jason taps the knife against his palm. Or what? You'll knock me out and throw me in a cell? Like you did with Joker? Like you did with me? Batman doesn't move. Jason shakes his head, stepping closer. No, Bruce, you're not here for him. You're here for me. Because deep down, you know this is your fault. His voice drops, venom dripping from every word. You left me there. The room is silent. Then Jason throws the knife straight at Tim's rope. Tim drops. But Batman is faster. He lunges forward, catching him midair and rolling to absorb the impact. When he looks up, Jason is gone, but his voice lingers in the rafters. Don't worry, I'll see you soon, Bruce. The next encounter we see with Jason will be a flashback showing actual events. I want you, the player, to know a bit more about what happened to Jason, how it plays out as Batman looks into the Jason Todd situation, to find out why he never realized he was still alive. You track down and locate one of the corrupt Arkham staff who knew about Jason Todd's situation. When you capture and interrogate him after a brief combat section with some guards, he tells Batman what really went down. And it's just like an interrogation scene, but once it starts, it flashes back to the scenes from the comics, so you can see it better. Here's how it goes down. Jason was electrocuted over and over. He was given spoiled food, beaten for 6 months. After so long, Jason finally asked, "Why don't you just kill me?" The Joker grinned. "Oh, kid, I couldn't do that," he laughed. "You're my sidekick now. We're going to be a regular dynamic duo, just like Bats and his new kid." The Joker pulled out a photo of a Batman and a new Robin. Then he went back to beating Jason. Jason screamed in pain as the Joker's crowbar cracked against his ribs. "Come on, kid! You're making it too easy!" Joker taunted, swinging again. Blood splattered onto the cold Arkham floor. Jason gasped for breath. "You know, I was thinking about calling you Robin Jr., but nah, you need a new name." Joker stepped back, twirling the crowbar in his hands. "How about Arkham's favorite son?" He grinned. No, I got it. The Arkham Knight." Jason barely lifted his head. He spit blood onto the floor. "Go to hell." Joker cackled. "Oh, Jason, we're already there." Then the beatings continued. Months passed. Joker kept Jason trapped in Arkham, hidden away in an abandoned wing. The only person Jason ever saw was Joker. Until one day, Joker opened the cell door. "Got a visitor for you, kid." Jason weakly lifted his head, and standing there was Harley Quinn. She tilted her head, studying him. "Wow, Mr. J. He looks terrible." Joker grinned. "That's the point, my dear." He walked over, placing a hand on Jason's shoulder. "You see, Bats thought this one was special." He squeezed Jason's bruised skin, making him wince. He thought this one could be better than the last. "But look at him now," Joker cackled, leaning into Jason's ear. "Guess he was wrong." Harley's expression softened. For a moment she almost looked guilty, but then she covered it with a giggle. "Well, Mr. J, if you're done with him, can I keep him?" Joker smirked. "Sure, toots! Have fun!" He patted Jason's cheek before walking out, leaving him alone with Harley. Jason barely had the strength to lift his head. Harley crouched down in front of him. She reached out and gently stroked his hair. "Poor thing," she murmured. For a second, just a second, Jason thought maybe, just maybe she'd help him. But then she reached behind her back and pulled out an electric prod. Zap! Jason screamed as thousands of volts surged through his body. Harley laughed, twirling the prod. "Oops! Clumsy me." Jason fell limp in his chair, his body smoking. And for the first time in months, he realized there was no way out. He was going to die here. Back to the present. The Arkham Knight stalks his prey. This takes place just before Jason betrays Hush and forces Batman into the final moral dilemma. The rooftops of Gotham are soaked in rain. The city burns below, fear toxin twisting through the streets like a waking nightmare. Batman moves through the storm, his body aching from the damage he's taken throughout the night. His skull is fractured. His ribs scream in protest. Joker's laughter rings in his ears, a constant taunt inside his poisoned mind. But right now, none of that matters, because Jason is here. The comms are dead silent. The Bat family is still recovering from Jason's attacks. Now it's just the two of them, and Jason made sure of it. Just a disclaimer, this will be a full-on boss fight. I'm just describing it so you don't picture it similarly to the last one, the Predator section boss fight. This will be more like the Mr. Freeze boss fight. A single gunshot shatters the night. Batman barely dodges, the bullet slicing through the air just past his cowl. He moves fast, grappling to the next rooftop, but Jason is already there. He's now wearing the Red Hood helmet as a way of taunting Bruce even further. He emerges from the shadows, standing on the edge of a ruined clock tower. His helmeted face glows crimson in the night, the rain streaking down the battle-worn armor of his jacket. His voice is cold, steady, certain. "I told you, Bruce. This ends tonight." The duel begins. Jason moves first. A hail of gunfire erupts, shredding through the rain-soaked concrete. Batman dodges, rolls, throws a smoke pellet. Jason doesn't even slow down. "You think that's gonna work on me?" He lunges, kicking through the smoke, his armored boot catching Batman in the ribs. Batman grunts, staggering back. Jason presses the attack. The fight is fast, brutal, personal. Jason fights like a shadow of his past self, a blend of Batman's training and something more ruthless. He grapples, dodges, counters every move Bruce throws at him, but Batman knows Jason too. He blocks a strike, counters with a spinning elbow, and throws Jason through a skylight. They crash into an abandoned penthouse, landing hard against shattered furniture and broken glass. The fight gets ugly. Batman rises first. His body screams in protest, but he keeps his stance. Jason is slower to stand. He pulls off his damaged helmet, revealing the face beneath. Scars, shadows under his eyes, a rage that burns. "Look at you," Jason mutters, shaking his head. "Still standing. Still acting like you're better than me." Batman doesn't answer. He watches Jason carefully, looking for the moment to end this, without hurting him further. Jason laughs bitterly. "Say it, Bruce. Say what you've been thinking this entire time." Batman narrows his eyes. Jason's fists clench. "You thought I was dead. You thought I was gone. You didn't even look for me." The words hit harder than any punch. Batman's breath catches. His fists tighten. Jason's voice drops lower, his eyes burning with something more than rage. "And when you got a new Robin, you just moved on." The rain beats against the shattered windows. Batman finally speaks. His voice is low, steady, but pained. "I never stopped looking for you." Jason scoffs. "And yet it took me pointing a gun at your face for you to see me." It's the final round. Jason moves first. His knife slashes through the air, aiming right for Batman's ribs. Batman catches his wrist, twisting it. Jason drops the blade. Jason headbutts him, sending Bruce staggering back. Batman spits blood. He's done holding back. They clash again, a storm of punches, blocks, counters. It's the most personal fight Batman has ever had. Jason's fury is relentless. His attacks are wild, desperate, but sharp. Every movement is driven by years of pain. Batman barely catches Jason's arm, twisting it behind him. Jason grits his teeth, slamming his head back into Bruce's face. Batman reels back, blood dripping from his nose. Jason grabs his gun. The click of the trigger echoes in the silence. They stand face to face. Jason aims the gun directly at Batman's head. Batman doesn't move. His breath is uneven, his body shaking from exhaustion. Jason's hand trembles. His breathing is sharp and ragged. "Tell me, Bruce," Jason whispers. "Why him? Why were you willing to save him?" Batman doesn't answer immediately. His vision blurs. Joker's ghost still whispering in his ear, laughing at him. But this isn't about Joker. I have to try. If someone can be saved, I have to try. Jason flinches. His finger tightens on the trigger. "You were there when he killed Talia. You saw what he did to Barbara. Heck, do you even have any idea what he did to me? Are those the type of people you want to save?" Jason says in a low voice and steps forward, the gun pressing against Batman's cowl. "I can't let it go," Jason adds. But Batman doesn't blink. Jason trembles. His hands shake. His rage collides with reality. Years of pain, betrayal, anger, all leading to this moment. The moment he proves he was right. But Batman still won't break. Jason lets out a shaky breath. Then he lowers the gun. His shoulders shake. Batman watches, waiting. Jason stares at him, and for the first time in years, he just looks tired. He turns, steps toward the broken window. "You really are lost, Bruce." And then, he jumps. Batman rushes to the edge, but Jason is already gone. The rain falls heavier now. Joker's voice whispers in his head. "Oh, bats. There's really no saving that one." Batman says nothing. He steps away from the ledge. His body is wrecked, his mind is shattered, but there's still more to do, because Hush and Scarecrow are still out there. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun writing that last part. I kept thinking back to Under the Red Hood and Max Payne for some reason, although both are unrelated. And now we have one last Jason-Todd confrontation towards the game's climax. Here's how it would play out. Gotham is burning. The city is coming apart at the seams. Scarecrow's toxin has drowned the streets in fear. The GCPD is barely holding its ground. Criminals run unchecked. The public has turned against Bruce Wayne. Everything is exactly as Hush planned, or at least that's what he thinks. A cutscene takes up to Wayne Tower, to a luxurious penthouse office. Once a place of business, now a throne of deception. Hush. His surgically altered face, a near-perfect replica of Bruce Wayne, sits behind an expansive desk, reviewing news feeds from across Gotham. He watches as reports detail the collapse of Wayne Enterprises, the criminal accusations, and the loss of public trust. He smirks, swirling a glass of wine in his hand. Look at them, blind sheep so quick to turn on their beloved billionaire. A shadow moves behind him, the Red Hood. Jason Todd steps out of the darkness, his boots making slow, deliberate steps across the polished marble floor. Hush glances over, his expression unfazed. Jason doesn't respond immediately. He walks to the massive windows overlooking Gotham, the city in flames below. "Nice view," he mutters. Hush leans back in his chair. "It's all coming together, the plan, the destruction of Bruce Wayne, and thanks to you, the death of Batman is inevitable." Jason exhales, shaking his head slightly. "See, that's the thing, Tommy." His tone shifts. "You actually think this is your show?" he whispers. Hush frowns. Jason turns, slowly removing his helmet. His face, scarred, broken, is now visible. His blue eyes burn with something fierce. "It was fun working together behind the scenes. I let you have your little game, Hush. Let you believe you were in control, but you were always just another pawn." Hush's jaw tightens. "Watch yourself, Todd." Jason smirks. "Oh, I'm watching, and so is he." He tilts his head slightly. Hush follows his gaze to the corner of the room. A batarang is embedded in the wall. Hush's grip on his glass tightens. A low, mechanical voice echoes from hidden speakers. The lights cut out. Hush moves fast, reaching for a hidden firearm under his desk, but a black-gloved fist slams into his wrist, snapping the bone on impact. Hush screams, stumbling back as Batman emerges from the shadows. Jason watches, arms crossed. "Took you long enough." Batman barely spares him a glance. His focus is on Hush. Hush clutches his broken wrist, breathing heavily. Not yet. He moves fast, smashing his palm against a hidden panel. The floor drops out beneath them, down to an underground lair. We're now in the final confrontation. Batman lands hard, rolling to absorb the impact. Jason lands smoothly beside him, already drawing his pistols. They are in an abandoned Wayne Tech facility, deep beneath the tower. Old blueprints and research files line the walls, evidence of Hush's months of preparation, and at the center, Hush gripping a scalpel in his uninjured hand. His voice is a growl. "You don't get to take this from me." Jason cocks his gun. "You're not him." Hush lunges. Cue the combat section. Here you play as Batman and you can switch to Red Hood at will. The fight is brutal. Hush is fast, precise. His attacks are meant to cripple, not kill. He moves with a mockery of Bruce's own fighting style, trained to replace him. But you, the player, Batman knows himself better than anyone. You counter effortlessly, reading every attack. Jason moves in tandem, their fighting styles oddly synchronized even after everything. They take him apart. Hush stumbles back, his face bloodied, his perfect illusion ruined. Jason doesn't holster his weapon. Instead, he presses the barrel against Hush's forehead. Hush's eyes dart to Batman. He laughs, a cruel, hollow sound. "You won't stop him. You never could." Jason's finger tightens on the trigger. Batman steps forward. "Jason, don't." Jason doesn't turn. His breathing is heavy. You know he deserves it. Hush smirks, despite the blood in his mouth. Listen to him, Batman. Jason growls. He stole everything from you, Bruce. Everything. He burned your name to the ground, took your company, turned Gotham against you. His grip on the gun tightens. Now you're just going to let him walk? Batman's voice is calm. That's not justice, Jason. Jason laughs, but there's something broken in it. No, it's revenge. There is silence. The tension hangs in the air. Joker's voice whispers in Batman's head. Come on, Bats, let him do it. We both know you want to. Batman exhales sharply, pushing the hallucination away. Jason trembles. His past crashes over him. The pain, the betrayal, the years of waiting. His hands shake. Batman steps closer. Jason's eyes flicker, conflict raging inside him. Then he lowers the gun. Hush snarls, launching forward in one last act of defiance. But Batman strikes first. A swift, calculated strike to the throat. Hush drops, unconscious. Jason watches as Batman steps away from the body. His hands curl into fists. You'll never change, Jason says, disappointment in his voice. Batman looks at him but says nothing. Jason turns. The elevator door stands open. He steps inside. Before the doors close, he speaks one last time. Next time, he whispers, I won't give you a choice. Then just like that, he's gone. The last we see of Jason. With Hush exposed, only the Scarecrow remains. This will play out much like the original Arkham Knight story, where Batman finally overcomes his fears, takes down the Scarecrow, maybe with Jason's help if you prefer, and suppresses the Joker. But for now, the public will know the truth and Jason vanishes into the shadows of Gotham, because his war isn't over. We might get to see more of him in a potential DLC. I have not thought that far ahead. One day, however, I'm sure Batman will face him again. And there you have it, Jason Todd rewritten. As you've noticed, his role in Arkham Knight is completely redefined, making him potentially the best part of what Arkham Knight was. He is a relentless stalker, a psychological tormentor, and the one person Batman has truly failed. His conflict is not just about hurting Bruce, it's about proving his point. Jason forces Bruce to face the consequences of his choices in a way no villain ever has. His war is still unfinished, with this planting the seeds for a potential sequel, but his presence forever changed the meaning of the Arkham Knight. This is how I feel Red Hood should have been done. Special thanks to everyone who's taken the time to hear me out, new faces and returning viewers. I love you all so much. As always, drop your thoughts in the comments, critiques, what you liked or hated about this adaptation, or characters you want me to cover next. Your feedback's why this channel keeps growing. The Paul Dini Arkham Knight video comments are basically a masterclass in Red Hood rewrites. I love leaving you with something at the end of each video. The fanfic I wrote for my last one is still up for grabs, free of course. Context was the cancelled Arkham game. And for this video, I made you a thank you card with some poetry I wrote just for you that you should keep as a personal memento. It's my way of saying GG for your support. If you want to snag it, the link's in the description. Either way, you're awesome. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
You did this to me. I'm sorry. You left me to rot in that abandoned wing of Arkham for over a year! With him.
It's not too late. We can fix this. Together. Alfred, I found Jason.
Excuse me, sir. I must have misheard you. For a moment, I thought you said that you'd found Master Todd.
You heard right.
My God, is he all right?
No. No, he's not.